Subcommittee on County, Cities, and Towns, Subcommittee number 3 will come to order. First, we will have Delegate Reed. First, we'll take attendance, and then we'll have Delegate Reed. Madam Clerk, can you please open the roll? We have quorum. Thank you. All right, Delegate Reed.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Am I the only one on the docket this morning?
Oh, well.
All right. Before you is House Bill 1122, and what I'd like to do is just give you a little bit of an overview about this. And this is another one of the bills that you're going to see throughout the rest of the session that are in some way, shape, or form or another trying to address the housing of shortage and the housing affordability crisis. And what this particular bill is intended to do is to provide more certainty in the development, approval, and the re-review process to ensure that we have a regulatory framework that creates an environment to build more rental and first-time homes. I'm going to go back to one of the things that I had talked about before when we were looking at my first-time home buyer savings program. Currently, the number is somewhere just in rental units that we are short about 200 or 250,000 rental units across the entire Commonwealth, and the problem is getting worse by about 10,000 units per year. This is something where, as much as we would like to be able to say that we want to provide an incentive program to be able to work our way out of this, I do not believe that incentives by themselves are going to be able to be the solution. And so this is one of the 3 things that I've been working on. One is the first-time home buyers program. The other one is the one that we passed yesterday on the House floor, which was the workforce housing for school employees. And this one, which would provide clarity on the vesting of rights and a streamlined review process so that if there is uncertainty about whether or not something can move forward or not, it's not going to be drug out in the courts for months, if years. So, Mr. Chair, that is the intent of this legislation, and I am open to any questions.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any questions from the subcommittee for the delegate? Seeing none, we will go to the subcommittee room. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak in favor of this legislation? We will have a minute per person. Seeing none, anyone in opposition of the legislation?
Mr. Chairman, Eldon James with Virginia Chapter of the American Planning Association, and thanks to the patron for being willing to talk with us about this. And he is committed to continue a conversation. We're concerned about 2 things. The reach back way into the past that, you know, a section of code that applies from 1982, and we've got to manage that. That's an administrative concern in terms of cost. Also, the cost to the locality, if it's determined that there's a violation, is a little on the high side. But we've agreed to continue talking. So just express our concerns.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee, Trip Pollard with Southern Environmental Law Center. We are opposed to the bill in its current form. Our main concern is, building on what Mr. James just mentioned, is the provision in C1 on line 43 means that by definition vested rights come into play when a project is incomplete and the issue is the application of outdated code provisions. So the way it's written, if a project gets paused for financial reasons or whatever reasons, and 40 years later they start again, you've got to look back to what the code was 40 years ago. There's no time limit. There's no way of addressing anything. So like if stormwater changes, a whole lot of things could change. I think that's just a massive problem for the environment. In addition, I think there's need for some exceptions where changes are, as you have in 3 other sections of the code, if there's been a mistake or a change in circumstances affecting the health environment. And have given some amendments and hope to, if this does move forward, we can work those out, but there are some very serious problems.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I believe we have one person online. We have John McCarthy. And Mr. McCarthy, please keep your remarks to 30 seconds online. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the subcommittee. My name is John McCarthy, Senior Advisor with the Piedmont Environmental Council. I'm also a retired 30-year local government manager, county administrator, and zoning administrator. I echo all the comments and sentiments expressed by Mr. Pollard and Mr. James. I'll offer some specificity and say I'm personally aware of a number of site plans don't involve any housing whatsoever that are 30 and 40 years old that never were pursued, that now theoretically, despite an intervening 2 sets of major zoning changes, would theoretically be resuscitated by the passage of this bill. The look-back provision is far too great. It needs to be limited. I would suggest further that there needs to be some limitation on the exposure of liability of government that's contained within it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We are back in front of the committee. Are there any questions or comments for the delegate? Delegate Helmer. Chair Helmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think it sounds like, based on the testimony, some of these do seem like fairly reasonable concerns, and so I know you've committed to working for full. I would tomorrow, if the subcommittee does act favorably, we will entertain testimony tomorrow, because I just want to understand where we're at with the bill.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I am committed to working with everyone, and we will work towards getting to an acceptable solution.
Thank you, Delegate. With this committee, after the statements and the comments from the chair, this committee acts by motion.
Move to report as, is there a substitute?
No, not yet.
Move to report. Second.
There's been a motion to report with a second on HB 1122 with further discussion tomorrow. Madam Clerk, can you please open the roll? On a vote of 5-0, 1122 has reported. Thank you, Delegate, and we look forward to seeing you at full.
Yeah, Mr. Chair and Mr. Chair, thank you. We'll keep you informed on the progress.
Thank you. All right, next I see Delegate Lopez.
Morning, members of the subcommittee. As we deal with the changing climate, each locality has different environmental challenges and issues. Moreover, the best solutions for each community to address those challenges are always going to be different. The fact is that localities have varying levels and degrees of climate plans, but all rely on cooperative community action. While nearby states pass aggressive mandatory laws, Virginia localities take a more cooperative approach, working with businesses and residents to jointly address the impacts of climate and environmental challenges. The ability to enhance those partnerships with businesses in the community by providing direct incentives saves time and money and strengthens the connection local jurisdictions are able to build with their residents and businesses. Mr. Chairman, this bill gives localities that choose to pursue the option the authority to create a fund using local monies known as the Local Environment Impact Fund to make grants to residents or locally owned businesses in order to mitigate environmental impacts or harms. For instance, a locality could use their fund to supply e-bikes to improve mobility and access for families, energy-efficient home appliances to cut energy consumption and bills, landscaping and lawn equipment to improve air quality and reduce noise pollution, HVAC equipment to help address urgent issues like emergency replacements and more. It would not ban anything, nor would it require residents to take any actions they don't feel are in their best interests, and it would involve only local funds. Overall, this bill will give localities a very helpful tool, and it's a useful complement to any potential statewide energy efficiency efforts. So with that, I hope it's the will of the committee to pass the bill.
Thank you, Delegate. We are back in front of the subcommittee. Are there any questions or comments from members of the subcommittee? All right, seeing none from the members of the subcommittee, we will come to the subcommittee room. If any of those that like speak in favor of this bill, please come forward. As a reminder, a minute per individual. Thank you.
Chairman and members of the subcommittee, I'm Wendy Ginsburg from the City of Alexandria. The city supports this bill, HB 914. During our FY25 budget cycle, Alexandria attempted to launch an e-bike rebate program, but uncertainty about the authority forced us to completely abandon it. This bill would give local governments clear authority to deliver programs like e-bike, micro-mobility rebates, heat pumps, energy efficiency appliances, and clean equipment for locally owned businesses efficiently, transparently, and aligned with community priorities. These programs would be funded using existing clean energy, climate, and transportation funds or future appropriations approved by City Council. It's permissive, fiscally responsible, and we urge your support. I've also been authorized to speak in support of this bill on behalf of the City of Falls Church, who said that this bill would be a tremendous help in advancing its adopted Clean Energy Action Plan and help support HVAC equipment purchases across their community. For all these reasons, we urge your support, and we very much thank the patron.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. Chris Lane with Southcliff Strategies on behalf of Arlington County. For the reasons expressed by our partners in the City of Alexandria, we're grateful for the patron for bringing forward this additional tool that will allow us to advance our climate goals. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you.
Jennifer Vinnie, Fairfax County, what they said.
Thank you. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak in opposition of this bill? Please come forward. Seeing none, I don't believe we have anyone online. We are back in front of the subcommittee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I could speak to, I've got a motion and I'd like to speak to that motion.
Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand why this is such a helpful tool for localities to have, especially as we work towards backfilling some of the gaps from the federal administration around weatherization efforts and initiatives. I think this is a really helpful tool. However, in the way that it's currently written, I think that it lacks some parameters and guardrails that we can really put into place to be clear about the about how we want it to help localities and like who's eligible for the funding, how would it be administered, et cetera. And so I think that it could probably take a little bit more conversation over the next year. So, Mr. Chair, I would move to carry it over until 2027.
Second.
There's been a motion with a proper second to carry over House Bill 914, and that is a voice vote. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, HB 914 has been carried over until the 2027 session. Thank you, Delegate Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Delegate Cousins.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee. Good morning. I have before you HB 1430.
Whenever you're ready.
Thank you. HB 1430 allows all localities in the Commonwealth to implement impact fees, a well-established tool used by local governments across the country to help fund the public services and infrastructure needed to support new development. When communities grow, infrastructure has to keep up. Impact fees provide a predictable and transparent alternative to ad hoc negotiations, helping local governments plan more equitably and consistently. Under current code, localities may assess fees for residential development to offset costs directly associated with that growth. However, existing law strictly limits which localities can use this tool. HB 1430 simply expands that authority to all localities in the Commonwealth. And by expanding access to this tool, this gives localities a clearer, more flexible way to manage growth while supporting more sustainable and equitable community development. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any questions or comments from members of the subcommittee? Seeing none, we will go to the room. Is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of this legislation?
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Joe Lurch with Virginia Association of Counties. The way we see this tool, and it's been in our program for years, is it's getting us out of just dealing with impact costs during rezonings, because this would apply across the whole community, and it's a way to spread out those costs and defray those. As the patron mentioned, it's been very successful in other states. We're kind of unique here in Virginia, and we think maybe it's time to revisit that issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Eldon James, American Planning Association, Virginia chapter. We have several bills moving through the legislature this year that creates a greater by right development potential. Our proffer system is designed that localities can recover the cost of growth through the proffer system. When you have by right zoning, there's no ability to negotiate proffers. Impact fees are the alternative. Thank you.
Cami Blatt with Southside Relief, and we support this bill.
Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak in opposition of this bill?
Mr. Chairman, Andrew Clark with the Home Builders Association of Virginia. I would say the exact opposite of what I just heard from the previous speaker. Virginia's got not only, as he mentioned, proffers to address and mitigate impacts to flooding, stormwater, schools, roads, you name it, but also through the site planning and subdivision process where localities are required to put in those regulations things that account for all the various impacts that new residential or commercial development can have on communities. And in terms of switching from a proffer to an impact fee system, that's a much, I think, much more in-depth conversation than this committee could have. We've had it several years in the past and really kind of ended up at maybe the status quo is where we're best. So I would just urge caution in pushing this forward and would actually ask you to defeat this measure today, and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you.
Right on time.
Seeing no one online, we will come back in front of the subcommittee.
Mr. Chair, I have a motion,
Delegate Shen.
and I'd like to speak to that motion.
Delegate Shen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think to the last speaker's point, this could probably use a little more conversation. A couple of weeks ago, we had a different bill before us that looked at impact fees as well. And I think that also was a bill that warranted more conversation. And so with that, I would move that we carry this over to 2027.
Second.
There's been a motion with a proper second to carry HB 1430 over to the 2027 session. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We will carry this over until 2027. Delegate, I appreciate you for patroning this bill and look forward to continuing to work on this with you.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. While we wait for a few patrons, we will do some administrative business. We have two bills that will go by for the day, and we'll take those in block. That's HB 778 and by Delegate Thornton and HB 985 by Delegate Garrett.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion with a second to pass by both these bills for the day, and that is a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. We have passed by both those bills. While we wait for patrons, we will go at ease. This committee will come to order. We have two more bills left on the docket, and we will present them as a committee. First, we have HB 1021 by Delegate Reeser. This bill allows localities that have adopted an affordable housing program to require that in an application for a special exemption or special use permit, affordable rental units be included for any proposed development of an assisted living facility. We are now in front of the subcommittee. Any comments from members of the subcommittee? All right. Is there anyone in the room that would like to speak in favor of this bill? Anyone that would like to speak in opposition of this bill?
Julia Hammond on behalf of the Virginia Assisted Living Association. It's the nicest opposition. Delegate Reeser is spot on that we have a huge affordability problem with assisted living facilities. The solution, though, in our perspective, is not zoning. We are not traditional housing. We don't have regular rent. You cannot live in one of our facilities and only pay rent. There are a lot of other things that DSS dictates that we must include. And what we very respectfully suggest is she has a wonderful point, and we'd love for it to be included in the JLARC study for this year. They passed it last year. So thank you.
Seeing no one online, we are back in front of the subcommittee.
Mr. Chair.
Delegate Shin.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we carry over House Bill 1021 until the next year with a request to our chair for a letter to JLARC to include this information in their upcoming study.
Second.
There's been a motion to continue 1021 with a letter to JLARC to continue to study this very important issue that we have across the Commonwealth. That is a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. We will move forward with Delegate Josh Cole's 1394. This bill prohibits any locality from discriminating against any person on the basis of actual or perceived unhoused status by imposing civil or criminal penalty against any unhoused person defined in the bill of any age for engaging in life-sustaining activities in or upon any public place, including in a legally parked car in a public space, provided that such activities do not obstruct the movement of pedestrian or vehicular traffic in a manner that creates a hazard to others. Life-sustaining activities, including sleep, resting, sitting, standing, lying down, or protecting oneself from the elements. Are there any comments from members of the subcommittee? Seeing none, I do believe we have one person online and a few people in the room that would like to speak in favor of this bill, so please come forward. And as a reminder, there's a minute time.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee. Isabel McLean with the Virginia Housing Alliance, and we greatly support the bill and thank the patron for introducing it wherever he is. This bill is really important because we know that arrests, fines, and tickets do not solve homelessness. They actually make it a lot worse for the individual, and they cost taxpayers more to respond that way. This bill is simply ensuring that localities do not needlessly do this, and that their efforts to manage safety and access in public places differentiates between activities of basic survival that are not genuine safety or access concerns on an individual basis. I do want to just note that the bill does have line amendments, so an action to adopt those.
I'm happy to move this and have the bill in the proper posture before we take it up.
And if I could have we don't have any, the patron's not here.
What if we get him to text us?
Well, it sounds like we can have any additional amendments with our letter. We put them in the letter to the Housing Commission once we act on it.
Okay. I was going to say this bill has already been sent to the Housing Commission and already studied by the Housing Commission.
Well, I spoke to the patron, and we discussed this previously, and I know they said there were some members of the Housing Commission that had some input, but I don't believe it actually went to the Housing Commission in the proper way, from my understanding and my discussion with the patron. But unfortunately, we do have to move forward.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. Annika Shun with Housing Opportunities Made Equal, and we very much support this bill. Thank you.
Good morning, members of the committee. I am Nick, and I am with the Center for Youth Engaged Research to Prevent and End Youth Homelessness, and I strongly support this bill as someone who has experienced housing insecurity earlier in my 20s, and since then have re-entered school. I'm expected to graduate at the top of my class, became a published author, and am now an emerging researcher. And let's protect that right for other Virginians. Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee. Sheila Hurley-Hennessy with the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy. As you can imagine, communities of faith find this issue near and dear to their hearts. There are many ministries, individual congregations, and collective organizations around the Commonwealth that provide services to folks experiencing homelessness. This bill protects the right to line up outside a soup kitchen ahead of time, to stand near a warming shelter when needed, and yes, to rest in legally safe and non-obstructive places. These are important rights for survival, for rest, and for human dignity. And so on behalf of the faith community, we do strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee. Kashish Pillai with New Virginia Majority. Currently, Virginia does not have enough beds to meet the needs of more than 7,000 individuals experiencing homelessness statewide. Yet current law allows people to be penalized for basic survival activities when they have nowhere else to go. Nearly 15 localities have passed ordinances in some way or another that criminalize homelessness. This bill simply clarifies that resting or sleeping in public spaces is not a crime when it does not block access or create safety risks, while also preserving local authority to manage public safety. This is a common sense bill. It prevents harm while we work towards longer term housing solutions, and I urge your support. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Maisie Osteen from the Legal Aid Justice Center, and we support this bill. This bill goes to the heart of the vicious cycle between homelessness and criminalization. Our housing team represents and organizes tenants who are dangerously close to eviction. Many of the tenants we work with are at risk of losing their home because of one singular emergency, one health emergency, one car repair, one medical issue with their children. And it's important to prevent localities from imposing civil and criminal penalties on our neighbors who are the most vulnerable. And for those reasons, we ask that you support this bill.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, Elizabeth Parker with Trautman Strategies representing St. Joseph's Villa. We're a large nonprofit in Henrico County. We provide community-based rapid rehousing assistance in Greater Richmond, the Tri-Cities area. And one of the things that we do is offer short-term financial assistance to help with payment of security deposits and sometimes back rent to get people off the street and into their homes. And so practically speaking, it's harder for us to place people into homes when they're in trouble with the law or owe civil penalties. For that reason, we ask you to support the bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of the subcommittee. My name is Danielle Smith. I am a member of the Richmond Tenants Union. Just speaking on behalf of the fellow members of the Tenants Union, as well as we have a bunch of unhoused tenants who are a part of the union. And I can tell you that this type of arrest, fines, tickets, fees, anything like that for simply existing in public has been really detrimental to their ability. Most of them don't have the resources to pay any tickets or fees, and then these things sort of pile up, and now they have additional barriers to getting into housing because they have an unpaid ticket and unpaid fine. So we strongly support this bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. Amy Wentz with Southside Relief. While we primarily work to increase street canopy and urban heat islands, we also want our neighbors to be able to safely rest under them. So we thank Delegate Cole for this bill, and we ask you to support it.
Thank you. I believe we have one person online. And that's Dr. Alex Wagaman.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the subcommittee. Again, Alex Wagaman. I am a Richmond constituent, a researcher, social worker, and have been doing work specifically with youth and young adults experiencing homelessness in Virginia for over 10 years. I'm asking you to support this bill. And in my experience working with youth and young adults experiencing homelessness specifically, many young people do not go to shelter. And we actually only have 2 youth-specific shelters in Virginia right now. So instead, young people often don't have a choice but to sleep in their car or outside until they can find a more stable place to live. While we're working to try to address this and increase opportunities for shelter and housing for young people, arresting, ticketing, or fining young people is not going to encourage them to seek services. It's also not going to help them get and keep stable housing. And in fact, it will create more barriers to their ability to keep employment, secure housing, and be contributing members of Virginia communities. Research has shown that
Thank you
youth
so
and young
much.
adults who have been involved.
Thank you. And I apologize. I don't let you know beforehand. There was a 30-second time limit online. I apologize for that, but I appreciate your testimony and your comment. I do see the patron. Have a good day. I do see the patron in the room. And Delegate Cole, before you got here, we did present the bill, and if you would like to add any additional comments, you may. But there's also a question about sort of where this was in the process. I know we spoke briefly yesterday about whether it went to the Housing Commission and kind of where we are there. So if you would like to expound, but please be brief.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think first we have some amendments to the piece of legislation.
That was another question.
Amendments, or Mr. Toldum.
Second.
Ask him to report the amendments.
Council, can you please report the amendments? Delegate Cole, would you like to, well, let's get the properly in front of us, and then you can explain the amendments for us. Delegate Shen.
I think there was a motion. I moved and then Shelley seconded.
There's been a move to, in a proper second, to have these amendments in front of us. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Delegate Cole.
Thank you, Chair. The amendment clarifies that this bill applies only to publicly owned and accessible property. This clarifies that private property is not covered in this bill, and that any publicly owned property must be reasonably accessible to the individual. Second, the amendment simplifies confusing language about perceived status.
Thank you, Delegate. And can you also talk about where sort of we are in the process with the Housing Commission?
Sure.
Did they study it, or was it?
So it was sent to the Housing Commission. I did present the bill over the summer, and then I'm not sure what the status is as of now, but it was presented to the Housing Commission, and I was under the impression they had taken into consideration for a study.
All right, I appreciate it. We are back in front of the subcommittee. Any comments?
Mr. Chair.
Delegate Simons.
So I have heard the words decriminalized, which I really agree with. I think it's an important step. But when I read the bill, it seems to be based on local non-discrimination. So have you all looked at, can we send a bill like this to courts, which would hone in on the decriminalization aspect?
Delegate, or would you like to see if the
Maybe
council has any insight?
Mr. Chair, that's at the will of the committee, whether you guys would prefer to send it to courts.
Well,
Delegate Simons.
Mr. Chair, I'm not actually asking that. I want to have a more philosophical conversation about the future of this bill. That's what I'm trying to do. And I'm just wondering if what we're really trying to do is decriminalize, sleeping in public and homelessness. So that would just be my recommendation, is that we think along those lines. That's all. Thank you,
Delegate Simons.
Mr. Chair, thank you. I was just going to add to what Delegate Simon said. I think decriminalizing poverty is something that we continue to work towards, because the criminalization of impoverished people is something that we are in a vicious cycle of doing. And Delegate Cole, I thank you for bringing this bill forward year after year to address this issue. I just wanted to say that with this amendment on this bill, it's actually about the amendments allow for it to be by ordinance impose any of these like penalizations, which I think is probably not about like zoning, but more about just like, you know, we talk a lot in this committee about what authorities localities do and don't have, and when localities do and don't act, and when they need permission for us. And I think what's happening right now is that localities are taking the initiative to impose ordinances that say, you know, sleeping in your car in a public parking lot is illegal, and therefore they're going to get hit with some sort of a civil fine or fee. And that, obviously, as we heard from witnesses, can often sink people who are already living in poverty into a deeper hole and create additional barriers for them to get out of. I think that that the work that Delegate Cole has done in front of the Housing Commission, trying to get them to consider how to best approach this, continues to seem like work that we need to be doing. And I hope that the Housing Commission will take it more seriously. And so with that, Mr. Chair, I'd have a motion at the appropriate time.
Delegate Shen.
Mr. Chair, I would move that we carry this over until 2027, but with a request to the chair for a letter to the Housing Commission, maybe a particular like asterisk, a strongly worded letter to the Housing Commission for consideration of this in a real study and report, because I also looked at their website and I've got no information on it from them. So that's my motion, Mr. Chair.
Second.
There's been a motion with the second to continue this bill to 2027 with a very serious letter to the Housing Commission. Delegate Cole, I appreciate you bringing this up again, and we've discussed it and we'll continue to discuss and make sure that the Housing Commission takes a very serious look at it. But it's in front of us. We have a motion to second as stated, and that is a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. HB 1394 will be carried over with a letter to 2027. Thank you so much, Delegate.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
All right, I believe that is the end of our docket. Without objection, this committee will adjourn.